What is the fire safety stick? The fire safety stick is an innovative portable extinguishing device with remarkable extinguishing capacity. It's designed to deal with small fires at the early stages. It's a simple and easy way to ensure that you're prepared in the event of a fire in your home, vehicle, caravan, boat or office. Small and lightweight, the fire safety stick is environmentally friendly and can safely be stored for easy access in an emergency, preventing the fire from getting out of control. What types of fires will it extinguish? All major fire types or classes. So Class A, solid combustibles. Examples include things like paper, plastics, textiles and wood. Class B, flammable liquids, petrol, oil, diesel and alcohols. Class C, flammable gases. Examples include methane, propane and butane. Electrical fires rated up to 100,000 volts. So that means it's ideal for electrical appliances, wiring, workshop machines, even three-phase. Regular lead acid batteries. MB. This class does not include lithium batteries. This is a separate classification altogether. And Class F, cooking oils and fats in the kitchen. Now this is one of the very few domestically available fire extinguishers that can deal with kitchen fires. Please note though, it is not suitable for established coal or log fires and bonfires. You see, although it will remove the oxygen initially to put the flames out, because of the heat generated within the coals and logs, the fire will likely to reignite. What is the discharge time of the fire safety stick? There are currently two options available depending on their minimum discharge times, 50 seconds or 100 seconds. Now just compare those times to that of a traditional powder extinguisher weighing around about 2¼ kilos. You see, these would only have a discharge time of just 7 seconds, and that is providing it's been correctly serviced and maintained. Now often these haven't been. Is the gas safe to breathe? Yes. The fire safety discharge is safe to breathe and is non-corrosive and non-toxic, so it's fine around children and pets. Of course, general safe practices are always recommended. Although the fire safety acts by removing the oxygen, it does so at the flame level and interrupting the chain of combustion. But it does not remove the local oxygen levels that will prevent breathing, as some traditional extinguishers would. Is it safe for the environment? Yes, the fire safety stick has no global warming potential and does not affect the ozone layer at all, nor does it contain any forever chemicals known as PFAS, and there's no damaging residue left from it at all. Is it safe to use in a confined room? Yes, absolutely. We've tested by activating the fire safety stick in a small room to ensure that it doesn't impact the breathing or visibility at all. Now this was done in a closed room around 3 meters by 3 meters, and it was very much like somebody vaping in the room, both regards to visibility and breathing. Of course, in a real fire situation, the smoke inhalation from the fire itself would be a much greater danger. But did you know that one of the great advantages of the fire safety stick is that in a confined areas, you can simply activate it and leave it to carry on working and discharging in that room. There's no need to keep holding the trigger. Does it make a mess like traditional extinguishers? No. The discharge gas from the fire safety stick is totally clean and will not leave any damaging residue. Now during its discharge, a chemical reaction does take place which occasionally expels a small trace of soot from the casing. But there's no other deposits left, and so unlike a powder extinguisher, it will not cause any damage to machinery, wiring or electronics. Does it need servicing and does it have a shelf life? Well, inside it's a solid construction with no moving parts and a lack of compressed gas, unlike traditional fire extinguishers. So this means it will never need any professional servicing. Now in addition, the solid chemical that makes up the fire safety stick has a theoretical non-expiry date, but here in the UK we do suggest 15 years. And that is based on current tests by the manufacturers who have batch tested the fire safety stick that have been over 15 years old and is still completely operational. We do have a series of simple, quick inspections that we would recommend users to carry out for themselves. Does it have a British Standards approval or kite mark? Well, firstly, the fire safety stick has the European CE mark and UK CA mark of approvals. It also has numerous other certifications from around the world, including independent tests to confirm its ability to extinguish the different classes of fires. Now currently it does not have the British Standards approval, and therefore a kite mark. Existing British Standards of extinguishers EN3 are based upon traditional pressurised extinguishers with specific guidelines to pressure gauges, corrosion tests, etc. However, because the fire safety is a totally unique system, and so therefore current guidelines do not apply to it at all. It doesn't even come under BS 6165/2019 for small disposable fire extinguishers, as it is a non-pressurised, non-aerosol type. Therefore, they would need to create a whole new approvals process for it. But the product's only been on the market since 2019. It's important to note that a common misconception is that all fire extinguishers must have specific British standards, but they generally don't. It's important to note that all pressurised extinguishers have to have the correct kite mark and the UK CA markings, because that container has to be tested to required pressures. Now, have you ever seen those chrome extinguishers in hotels and restaurants? Well, they don't meet British standards, because since the British standard says that the extinguishers have to be predominantly red in colour, and yet they're perfectly legal to be installed. However, for commercial installations, we have created our own recommendations such as tamper tags, wall signage, installation inspection stickers, as well as the visual inspection log, which can correlate to those industry standards. The senior management of Fire Safety Stick have several decades of experience in the industry. Now remember, the Fire Safety Stick is uniquely a non-pressurised extinguisher. Now it should be considered that there are some very specific installations that do require specific extinguishers of certain approvals. Examples of these include things like transport dangerous goods by road, public service vehicles, or the boat safety scheme. Can I refill it? The Fire Safety is a single-use fire extinguisher and cannot be refilled by the user. Once activated, it will continue to discharge until it's empty. And once finished, it's safe to domestically recycle the two remaining components, the aluminium tube and the black plastic handle. Whereas for traditional extinguishers, once activated, they must be professionally recharged if suitable, or disposed of. Even if they've only been used for a fraction of their capacity, they must still be professionally recharged. Can it be activated or depressurised unintentionally? No. It cannot be discharged by accident. It needs to have the striker cap in contact with the black activating chlorate to start the discharge. So dropping it or piercing it will not set it off. Only if the stick was exposed to a temperature well over 350 degrees Celsius, actually the temperature of a fire, for a period of time will it eventually activate. However, that doesn't mean it can be safely used on its own in a high-risk area to activate a little like a fixed fire suppression system. Also, if the striker cap is missing, please do not assume that the stick will activate by simply putting the tip into the flame. You see, it needs to be exposed for some time in the correct position of the flame. What about lithium batteries? And can I use it in an electric car? Well, the simple answer is no. It is not certified to extinguish lithium rechargeable battery fires. Now, it is possible to put out a small computer or phone battery fire with the Fire Safety Stick, but be aware that due to thermal runaway, it is very likely that that fire could restart. Now, in the case of e-scooters or e-bikes, we would strongly recommend not to even attempt to tackle those types of fires, even with a certified lithium battery fire extinguisher. You see, these fires are very, very unpredictable and likely to explode, as well as giving off very toxic gases. Now, for the same reason, the Fire Safety Stick is unsuitable for a drivetrain battery in an electric vehicle. Although, of course, the stick is fine to deal with electrical fires from the ancillary devices on board, those are covered by the 12 or 20 volt batteries. How does it work? Well, firstly, it's not like any other extinguisher. It doesn't use CO2, powder, foam at all. It works by chemically interfering with the oxygen, but only at the flame level. It does not affect the user's oxygen at all, though you should always be aware of the risks from the smoke from what is actually burning. Inside the metal tube is a solid inorganic resin, which consists of potassium nitrate. Now, this is completely safe and stable, but when activated, a chemical reaction occurs that breaks the resin down into nitrogen gas. Now, this inert gas pushes out the active agent, which is potassium-free radicals or ions. Now, these potassium ions need to bind onto the oxygen around the flame, and in doing so, remove the oxygen, but crucially only at the flame level, and so therefore extinguishes the fire. Now, these ions then become potassium oxide, and because these particles are so small, around 3 or 4 microns in size, they appear as a smoke or vapour, but are completely safe to you and the environment. How to activate it? It's really easy, but it's different to other extinguishers, so it's really important that you make sure that you and anyone else that's likely to ever need to use it reads the instructions as soon as they get it. That way, you're all ready in an emergency. These instructions are on the box, on the stick, and the leaflet inside. Plus, there's a QR code on the stick that links you to a web page and video. Simply take off the top protective cap and discard that. It's only there to protect the black striking resin at the top of the stick. Then take the bottom striker cap from the bottom of the handle, holding the stick by the handle. Now make sure you're pointing the top away from yourself and anybody else nearby. Then Lightly press the red-brown abrasive surface of the striker cap against the black resin at the top of the stick and flick the two together, just like striking a match. But don't press too hard. The black resin will then ignite just like a match, and the white vapour will start to discharge from the stick. Now occasionally, also like a match, it might not activate the very first time. Not a problem, just repeat it and it will then start. How long does it last in terms of lifespan and discharge time? Well, the suggested lifespan is at least 15 years, providing the simple visual checks are carried out by its owner. But it can work perfectly well at 20 years and beyond. Actual discharge times of the models are either 50 seconds minimum or 100 seconds minimum. Now just compare that to a traditional powder extinguisher weighing approximately 2.4 kilos. These would only have a discharge time of just 7 seconds, and that's providing it's been correctly maintained throughout its life. What if the fire's too big? It's important to always note that for all handheld extinguishers, including the fire safety stick, they are only intended for small fires at the early stages. Once a fire becomes too large or established, then it's no longer safe to tackle the fire directly. Now the fire safety stick has a unique advantage though. You can just activate it, and if the fire is within a confined space, leave it in that room as you escape to safety, calling the fire service. The stick will continue to discharge in your absence, filling the space with its firefighting vapour, and so repressing the fire. What should I do after I've used it, and how to dispose of it? As soon as it's finished discharging, still be careful holding the stick and where you place it, as the metal tube may still be hot, but it will quickly cool down. You can then either safely dispose of the spent unit in domestic waste, or separate the black plastic handle from the empty aluminium tube and then recycle accordingly. It is not possible to recharge the stick to be reused at all. Can I stop it while it's still discharging? No. Once it starts to discharge, it will continue to do so until the resin inside has completely been converted to the active agents, typically after over 100 or 50 seconds. However, this is an advantage, as it means it can be left without the user holding it or even being present when it continues to discharge and therefore repress the fire. Our advice is always to continue to point the discharging stick towards the area of the extinguished fire, and this will prevent any reignition as well as ensuring that the fire is completely out. The continued discharge does not cause any additional harm or damage whatsoever. How is it different to other types of fire extinguisher? Well, it's different in many ways. Firstly, it's not pressurised at all and does not need to be serviced annually. It lasts much longer, typically at least triple the lifespan of most other fire extinguishers. It's completely clean and leaves no damaging mess or residue. And of course, it's much lighter and compact, and yet has a much longer discharge time. For example, a 1 kilogram dry powder extinguisher, which actually weighs about 2¼ kilos, has a discharge time of just 7 seconds, whereas even the lightest fire safety stick at 215 grams has a discharge time of at least 50 seconds minimum. Does it leave a mess at all? This is one of the great things about the fire safety stick. It leaves no damaging mess at all. In fact, there's been several users that have had car engine fires, extinguished it with a fire safety stick, and once they've checked to make sure it's safe, they've been able to carry on with their journey. This means that the only damage that's caused is from the fire itself, unlike powder extinguishers, which can often cause a lot more damage than even the fire itself. This is just one reason why insurance companies that understand the fire safety stick love it so much. Okay, so I don't need to service it at all, but are there any other checks that I should do? Yes. Although unlike most of the fire extinguishers, the fire safety stick is not pressurised and therefore does not need any annual servicing by a qualified professional technician. But there are some simple, basic visual checks that we do recommend the owner or responsible persons carry out on a regular basis. These include, is the bottom striker cap present? Because you'll need this to activate the stick. Is there any damage? And is the black resin on the top still firm and not broken off? And we've created a very simple checklist which can also be logged and documented. Can I have the fire safety stick at work instead of those big bulky extinguishers and save money on servicing? Well, it can be possible and some places have done so, but before you rush out and swap them all out, it's not quite so simple. There must be an updated independent fire risk assessment completed, and only if it's suitable for the fire safety stick to be incorporated into the fire safety strategy for that workplace premises. Then it might be possible. There are various upgraded commercial versions of the sticks, including the signage and documentation. We would recommend the person to contact fire safety stick officers to discuss this in more detail. Now for commercial vehicles, providing they're not covered under ADR or PSV requirements, then the fire safety stick is potentially an ideal solution for fleet vehicles. But again, please contact fire safety stick officers for more information. Where are they made? The sticks are manufactured in Italy, but fire safety stick as a brand name is only available in the UK and Ireland. But it is available in other regions around the world, but under different brand names. Like a match, can I just put the tip into the flame to activate it? No, because although you think it might be possible, in practice, especially in the emergency of a fire, it is a far too reliable system, and therefore it is crucial that you always have the bottom striker cap fitted and ready to use in an emergency. Can the fire safety stick be used for commercial vehicles that come under ADR or PSV? The fire safety stick, although ideal for the vast majority of commercial vehicles, is not at this stage certified to replace traditional pressurised extinguishers that are required for ADR, the transport of dangerous goods by road, or PSV, public service vehicles. This is simply because these regulations specify particular types of fire extinguishers as opposed to just general suitable extinguishers. And at the time of writing the current regulations, the fire safety stick was not available in the UK, and so therefore was not included at all. This situation may change in the future, but currently you cannot have the fire safety stick as part of the requirements under ADR and PSV. However, having seen some of the benefits of the fire safety stick, a number of operators are still carrying the fire safety stick in those vehicles as well. How often should you carry out the maintenance checks? Well, this will vary depending on the type and location of installation. Remember, the fire safety stick does not need to be professionally serviced by a qualified technician throughout its 15-year plus lifespan. But we do recommend some simple, visual, quick checks by the owner or responsible person. Now if it's just at your home or in your car, then a quick check every 6 to 12 months should be fine. If it's in a vehicle with slightly more extreme conditions, such as in a motorhome or heavy plant machinery or motorsports, then I think more regular checks would be advised. If the fire safety stick was to be installed within a business premises, under guidance of the fire risk assessment, then inspections are typically carried out mandatory annually, and this must be documented as having been carried out. But we do have a fire safety stick inspection log sheets available as a free download for you to use. Does it matter which way I mount the fire safety stick in a vehicle? The fire safety stick can be mounted in any direction or orientation you like, because unlike traditional extinguishers, it is not pressurised, and inside it contains a solid, stable resin. So whether it's upright, on its side, or even upside down, it makes no difference whatsoever. There is no risk of the contents settling, or if it was dropped, of it being activated by accident. All we do recommend though is that you keep it ready in an emergency, so have it mounted or stored somewhere close to hand, where you can quickly access it and activate it. After all, every second counts. And remember, all fire safety sticks come with a free mounting clip for easy fitting. And in the case of the utility or commercial versions, then they come with 2 free clips, as these provide added security for vehicles that are going to be used under more extreme conditions. If I lost a striker cap, can I replace it? Yes, you can. These are available from approved distributors of the fire safety stick or from Fire Safety Stick head office directly. Now, depending on the environment it's being installed in, it might be worth fitting a tamper tag to secure the bottom striker cap to prevent it from falling off, but can also still easily be pulled off to strike and activate the stick in case of an emergency.